that does collect a decent amount of oil in there that you can see right on my finger. Alright everybody, what is up, what is up? As always, thanks for stopping by to another video today. We are here with my 2022 Harley Davidson Softail Street Bob. But today, we're talking a little bit more specifically about the M8 engine in this bike specifically. So, we're talking a little bit about venting your transmission cover. So this is a pretty big topic that I have seen a lot of information about online, with pressure building up in the crankcase, in the transmission, creating some of that oil blow-by into your intake here. And I do look at mine often, and I do see a lot of mist through this clear cover right here. I've never had it fully dripping down out of there, but you do see a lot of wet, damp mist of oil in there that could be produced from some of that pressure and some of that blow-by that a lot of people talk about with the M8 engine. I've seen a lot of different tips and tricks that people talk about with catch cans and rerouting some of the pressure, different covers and things like that. And that's what we're gonna take a look at today. I'm gonna replace the stock transmission cover with one of the vented options out there to see if that really creates any relief of pressure and relief of some of that blow-by and misting that we get here in the air intake. So as always, before we get started, go ahead and drop your comments down there on any experience you have with oil misting or oil blow-by or anything like that from pressure from the crankcase. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on some of these vented transmission cover options out there. Have you used one? Did you have success or results with it? Drop it down in the comments and let me know. So for this one, what we're gonna run through is the option that I'm going with. We're gonna take a look at all the components that you will receive with this particular option. We're gonna take a look at the install, and then what we're actually gonna do is, since we have the clear Arlen Ness intake here, I'm actually gonna remove this as well, get it all cleaned up. We're gonna run the bike around a couple hundred miles and then check back in, because we can see right in there if we've reduced any of that misting or oil buildup in the intake by installing this vented transmission cover. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the option I have here. This is the vented transmission cover from Nice CNC. And full transparency, Nice CNC did send this out to me as a collaboration to do an install and review. This is something I have been considering putting on the bike for a while, so I was excited to partner with them, but of course I will go ahead and give my full honest review and opinions of the install and the function of the product as well. So if we go ahead and take a look at everything that you're gonna receive here, you're gonna get the transmission cover itself, you're gonna have a new gasket that they're gonna provide, you're going to have the oil filter catch can, you're gonna have an adapter to put in the catch can to the hose, and of course the hose right here. You're going to have your hose clamps to tighten it all up, and then a zip tie that you might need when you're routing the hose and the catch can wherever you decide to put it. We'll take a look at that in a minute. So I do already have this started a little bit. I've got the side cover removed here, but if you take a look at the stock transmission cover, this piece right here is what we're going to be removing and replacing. As you can see, this is a little bit difficult to get into some of these bolts. They are really buried in there. I've got a lot of them already started and backed out. Had to remove the O2 sensors there to get a little bit of extra space, but we're gonna finish removing these bolts, and then we'll take a look at getting the new one from Nice CNC placed in there and tightened down, and then next steps we'll route the hose. I'm thinking we'll probably route the hose from here up into this section, so it'll be covered up by that side cover that is normally right here. So to get these bolts out of here, you're gonna need a 3/16 Allen, and honestly, the smallest option you have, the better, because you really don't have a lot of space back here. I ended up having to cut and shorten one of my Allen keys and also using this kind of shorter Allen socket, but if this was even smaller, it would be even easier. So as small a socket and Allen as you can use on these is probably gonna be your best case scenario. Let's go ahead and get these fully out. All right guys, so we have the old cover removed and the new one from Nice CNC down here at the bottom. You can tell a little bit of some of the differences here. So to my understanding, this is gonna be the major difference here. This is a ball and spring mechanism that when that pressure builds up, it is then going to be released out through the top here and through the hose that we're gonna route up through the bike into that catch can. So this gives you an idea of what the differences between these two covers is gonna be between the stock one here and the new vented one from Nice CNC. So I am going to just clean this up a little bit, a lot of oil and grime and stuff on here. Just gonna give this a quick clean and wipe down of some of that. And we're gonna go ahead and place this new gasket on top of the cover. So we've got the new gasket placed in there for the moment, and of course we want to go ahead and make sure we remove that old rubber vent from the old cover. Then we're going to go ahead and place that into the new one. All right, so we've got that rubber vent placed into the new transmission cover. Let's go ahead and see if we can slide this in there to get it placed and start tightening down some bolts. So the next steps is going to be getting the hose on that little knob right there. And then we're gonna run it up, around, and through here. We'll see where we can zip tie it in, but we're gonna get the catch can filter attached to the hose. We're gonna get the hose attached to the cover, and then we'll be able to get it all tidied back up, and then we're gonna take the air intake off, get that all cleaned up, and then we're gonna run it for a couple hundred miles, like I said, see what some of that mist or any residue in there looks like. I don't know if it's coming through on camera right now, but you can kind of see it is a little misty and wet in there, so I'll be curious to see how it goes with the new vented transmission cover. All right, so next up, we're gonna go ahead and place the hose, slide that down on top of the little vent knob on top of the new transmission cover. Then we'll go ahead and tighten down that hose clamp to secure it in place. So we'll give a cut there to size. So now we have the hose cut to size. We'll put in the connector, and then you've got your catch can filter right here. We'll squeeze that all the way together nice and tight. I envision it pretty much kind of sitting here just like that. I think that will do the trick. We'll zip tie somewhere along here just to make sure that it stays in place. All right, so we've got the catch can filter attached to the venting hose coming out of the new cover. I think we're just gonna go ahead and zip tie it in here so it's not moving around. This is gonna be kind of hidden by the cover that we're going to then place back on here, and we should be all set. All right, so we're getting ready to put this cover back on. I think this should hide everything pretty well. You can see where the hose comes out of the new transmission cover, vents up into the catch can. That is pretty well secured here. And this cover should pretty much hide everything. I think we'll see when we slide it back on. All right, so there we go. That gives you a look at the finished product. We've got the cover back on. Pretty much hides the entire hose that comes up and the catch can back there. Like I said, we've got the O2 sensor back and installed. We're gonna put the cover on the other side. Then we're gonna get into taking a look at the air intake here. So like I said, we're gonna get this all cleaned up and removed, get that mist cleaned up out of there. We're gonna take the bike out for a couple hundred miles and see what happens inside of there now that we're venting out of the transmission cover. All right, so now with the intake cover off, you can see there is a good amount of kind of moisture and oil misting going on there. And then on the front of this cover as well, we're gonna get this cleaned up, but kind of gives you an idea of some of the misting that's taking place. And then you've also got this little catch at the bottom of the Arla Ness intake that does collect a decent amount of oil in there that you can see right on my finger. So you've got some misting spewing out around here. You've got it catching and collecting in this little catch right here. So it's gonna be very interesting to see how this goes as we get all this cleaned up and then start running it with the vented transmission cover. So I'm gonna clean all of this off here. Also gonna remove this catch, see how much comes out of there, and then we'll put it all back on and we'll take it for a ride. Alrighty guys, so we just got back from the first ride with the new nice CNC vented transmission cover on there. Did about 100 miles, a little over 100 miles on a quick little ride. It did consist of a little bit of everything, stop and go traffic in the city, a little bit of back roads, and a little bit of motoring on the highway, hit through all the gears, got up to some higher speeds, lower speeds, all that good stuff to test it out. Now, I will say I don't know if 100 miles is enough to get an idea of how that venting is gonna work and if anything is gonna build up in there, but looking in there, I'm not sure if it'll come through on the camera or not. I do see a little bit of misting, just a light little bit of misting on the plastic cover to the air intake. And then I do also see just a little dribble of oil coming down into that catch so far. So there's not a whole lot going on in there after the first 100 miles, just a little bit of misting on the plastic cover, a little dribble of oil, not really a whole lot going down into that catch. Like I said, I'm not sure if 100 miles is enough to really get an idea of how that's going to vent the pressure, but that's what I had time for a ride today. So that just gives you a little bit of an idea of what that install is going to look like of that vented transmission cover, how you can route that catch can. And again, just the first 100 miles on here seems like it's doing some type of job here. Definitely not as much misting or oil dribbling down there. I will keep an eye on that as I ride ride it more. Obviously getting up 500,000 miles with this new transmission cover, we'll see what the buildup of oil or blow-by turns into with the air intake after a little bit more riding. So that will go ahead and start to wrap this one up for now. Again, thanks to Nice CNC for partnering with me on this video. I will drop a link to the actual product down in the description. I will also drop a link to a little bit of a discount code they were nice enough to offer up to my followers for their website, so make sure you go ahead and take a look down in the description for those items. As always, drop your comments down there, any feedback you guys have on vented transmission covers. As always, I'll be curious to hear some of your feedback there. But as always, make it a good one, guys. It's the Moto John. We'll see you all on down the road. Peace.